Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. Let me go ahead and do a couple of things for us before we get started. First of all, welcome. I'm so excited that you are here. Second of all, for those of you who are here, and if you have not yet gotten the chance to check in, make sure that you go ahead and use the check-in link that I have posted on the bottom here. You can also use this lovely QR code up in the top corner. And last but certainly not least, I've also added it into the chat for you. Hello. I've also added it into the chat for you right there. The other thing that we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to change that ticker on the bottom there. For this one, as you have questions throughout, we'll go ahead and just kind of go through them. So generally, questions are always welcome in the chat for this one. And I'm super excited for y'all to be here. Here is our plan for today. We're going to talk a little bit about GitHub as, a resource, GitHub as something that we can work with. I'm actually probably going to create a GitHub account from scratch. Hi, looking forward to making pretty GitHub. I'm excited too. Let's make a GitHub from scratch. I'm going to go ahead and show that in a second. I just got to pull up my little MLH email here. And then let me also do this real quick. I have some stuff, some knitting things to close. I was working on a new knitting project, which has been really exciting. Go ahead and also get logged in here. Pop this on D&D. Should have probably gotten some of these things set up earlier, but you know what? That is A-okay. So for those of you who are not familiar or maybe are not super familiar, one more thing I'm going to do is I am going to bring the music back. I keep the music on in the background just in case I, stop talking for like 30 seconds or something else. I keep it on pretty low, but if it still bothers you, just let me know. I can always turn it off. Depends on, everybody, how they feel about it and everything. Yeah, but I tend to keep it on the lower side here. So hopefully you shouldn't generally have any issues with it. Hello, too. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do a couple things here. Make sure I can see everything on my screen so I can get comments while you all are asking me. And then what I'm also going to do is just grab these. And then we're going to go ahead and make a little GitHub account from scratch. And we'll start over and kind of walk you through how I would set up a GitHub account for the first time. Of course, if you already have an existing GitHub account, you don't need to worry about anything else. So don't feel like you have to fret in here. Lots of different options for like starting from a certain point. But for those of you who have any questions, right, or anything, feel free to start over from scratch. Well, first of all, welcome. No pressure that you weren't able to attend the earlier session. The cool things about Global Hack Week is that it really is, come as you can and join whenever you can and get involved in as many ways as you would like to for a given time. What I would personally recommend in this case is to go to our schedule and take a look at any of the other sessions we have upcoming to make sure that you have everything that you feel like you need, that you know when the sessions you want to watch are. So that's for upcoming for those that you want to watch live. However, if you missed any session and you're like, this sounds exactly like what I want to watch. Like, for example, Wei did an awesome session on like MCPs and MCP agents. You can always watch back everything that we've done so far for GHW on the MLH YouTube, which I'll also post a link to in a second. So this is to watch back any of our past streams, anything that you might have missed. Look at previous Global Hack Weeks too. Like you can see baby me, soft like 3 years ago coach me, if you go back far enough in the archives. But yeah, there's lots of really good options for things that you can watch, et cetera, et cetera. So make sure that that's where I would go ahead and tune in for anything that you've missed. And then for anything that you want to see going forward, whether it's at this Global Hack Week or one of our upcoming ones, just make sure you take a look at it at ghw.mlh.io. And in addition to that, one of my favorite parts of Global Hack Week personally is our GHW challenges. So these are posted on DevPost, or actually, no, they're now posted on the MLH organized portal. So in here, you can see all of the open source week challenges. And so I'm going to actually go ahead and share my portion of this real quick because I think these are pretty cool. There we go. That's better. But yeah, these are the Global Hack Week challenges that you can participate in, right? So a lot of these have to do with some of the partners that we work with specifically, but also they are, related to some of the upcoming streams, right? Completing specific challenges, right? Joining the MLH community Discord or helping promote open source or things like that that are generally really honestly useful in here. Yeah. So this is what I would personally recommend for like getting started and getting caught up. But from here, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and set up my GitHub account here. So for those of you who are not yet there and you want to join me and follow along, make sure that you go ahead and head to GitHub and then go ahead and get logged in. I'm going to set up my account. It's going to take me right about a minute or so. In the meantime, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I guess we'll just get a giant version of my face. That works too. And then of course. Well, welcome on in. You haven't missed much yet. We're just going ahead and setting up our GitHub account. So if you do not have an active GitHub account, make sure that you go ahead and join in. If you do have an active GitHub account, then you should just be ready to proceed. Make sure you get logged in and set up. I'm going to go ahead and really quickly just get my logged in here. I'm hoping to create a GitHub account from scratch. And then hello. So you should be good to go as long as you head to GitHub and get logged in for me. And then if you do not have an account, go ahead and make one. Oopsies. If you hear rustling around. Alrighty, perfect. I am doing great. Thank you. Awesome. Sweet. That took a little bit longer than I would have liked, but that is okay. And I clicked the wrong button. That's okay too. All right, beautiful. Let's go ahead and get started. So right in here, this is my lovely little fake GitHub account. Well, it's not a fake GitHub account. I actually made it when I thought I was going to have a separate GitHub account for a lot of my little hacking streams, but I ended up just using, my personal, like official formal GitHub. So what we're going to do here is I'm actually going to go ahead and delete a lot of these repositories so that we're starting from a blank page. I have very few ideas. That's fine. That's okay. We don't need to really have repositories for this to talk about, good strategies and good resources that we can generally have. The reason why I'm logging into this account actually to start is to show you what we can do with a blank GitHub and a blank repository from here. So I think this will be pretty helpful for anybody, and no matter what place you're in your GitHub journey. All right, beautiful. So as we go ahead and get started, now you'll be able to see, right? This is my lovely little GitHub account. I don't have any public repositories. Right? If I go to repositories, it says I don't have any public repositories. We can go ahead and edit a profile and take a look here. So let's go ahead and just start diving into some of the really cool settings within GitHub. So the first one here is this lovely little status bar. Here you can include, an emoji of some sort that you think describes what's happening, right? And then also a nice little status. There are specific GitHub emojis that you can include, right? I like this one. And then we'll do learning about GitHub as my status. You can also, if you end up using GitHub often, if you click on this little busy tag, it's going to let people know as they tag you that, hey, you're probably pretty busy right now. It might take you a little bit more time to get there. And then finally, you can clear your status. So for this one, we'll clear our status after today, so that it disappears after we are done learning about GitHub today. This way, when somebody hovers over your profile, and we'll go ahead and log into Kari MLH's profile from a different account later so you can see what it looks like from not your side. We can go ahead and take a look at kind of what this looks like for a different person. That is one of the things that we can also start with here, right? Then as we go ahead and get into our settings, there's a lot of different things that we can also do. All right, so within here, we can go ahead and set our name. So I'm going to set my name as Kari from MLH. And then for my bio, I'm going to say, you can also, like they mentioned, you can mention other users and organizations and link to them. So for example, all right, let's check on the so what we can do here, right, is also go ahead and then check into tag specific profiles. So now if I click save, right, you can see there are specific profiles mentioned here. Right, so @MLH goes ahead and links you to the Major League Hacking repository. However, I made a typo in my own username, which is funny. There you go. And now this way you'll go to like my actual main GitHub profile, right, where you can see some of the things that I'm doing. In the mainland, let's go ahead and also continue editing our profile, right? Down here, you can also set your pronouns, right? So this is where you could set, whatever pronouns you have to be referred as, company, right? So for example, like where you work, who you work with, etc. Right? Then location, so on and so forth. I'm gonna check on something real quick. Okay, cool. All right, so as we go ahead and get started, right, what we can fill in here, right, is company. We can do, hello. All right, you can go ahead and do Major League Hacking here. And location, to New York. New York, right, because that's where MLH is located. You can set your local time. So in my case, we're gonna set that to be GMT -5. And then you can also go ahead and link to your GitHub and then any of your social media profiles, right? So if you have Twitter, Instagram, a website. Is there any event in the delay in the event starting? We are here and we have been here for 18 minutes, but you know, if you're talking about like other things going on with Global Hack Week, not as far as I'm aware of. I think everybody's pretty much been on time. As we then go ahead and get started, or as we continue here, right? Seeing something unexpected, you can take a look at the GitHub profile guide, right? So this tells you a little bit about setting up and managing your GitHub profile. So I'm going to go ahead and actually paste the link for this lovely GitHub Google or this GitHub Docs resource in here, right? For anybody who wants to access it. And then you can go ahead and take a look in here, right? So customizing your profile, you can see there, so your profile README, your items to your profile, and then setting your profile to private, right? So we're gonna start with our profile README here. And then I'm actually gonna have to take a quick break here so I can delete the spam that's in that. Give me a second. Doing a bunch of random things all at the same time, and obviously it's not going to. Oh. Perfect. There we go. We got it. Waiting for two-factor authentication codes has got to be one of the very useful things, but then when it takes a little bit longer, you're like, why? Okay, my Twitch is the one acting up. I'm moving to YouTube. Totally fine. It's the same broadcast on both. Feel free to join us. All right, we're going to go ahead and join in here. Make sure I'm muted. Perfect. Yeah, sweet. Okay. Alrighty, perfect. We should be good there. Sorry about that. I don't know why that took so long. Anyway, for those of you who have not already gotten a chance to take a look at it, make sure that you go ahead and access those GitHub docs, right? Then I'm going to go ahead and also go to github.com here, right? And then, oh, I accidentally looked at this lovely person's little, that's a fun fun username, EN. You can also access your profile info from up here, but anyway, that's besides the point. All right, we've got ahead and got my lovely little GitHub profile. What this doc describes is your profile README, and then going and creating your own README, right? So GitHub will display your profile README and profile page. If you've created a repository with a name that matches your GitHub username, your repository is public. The repository contains a file called README.md in its root, and it does not contain any client content, right? Or the README.md file contains any content. And then this is before 2020. That's not a concern to us in this case. So in the upper right-hand corner of any page, we're going to click on this plus button and we're going to create a new repository. And then we're going to go ahead and call this repository Kari-MLH. As you can see when we get started here, Kari-MLH is a special repository that can be used to add a readme.md to your GitHub profile. Make sure it's public and initialize it with a readme.md to get started, right? So that means we're going to initialize it with readme.md. And then we're going to create a description here. I see your question right here, Tammy. I'll get to it in a second, and then we'll go from there. Description. GHW stream. File. And then we, like you mentioned, we have to make it public. We don't need to worry about a git ignore in this case, and we also do not need to worry about a license. So I'm going to go ahead and create this create repository button. And now is a great time to answer Tammy's question here. What is the difference between Git and GitHub? So think of Git as a resource to conduct version control on your computer, right? Like the same way that you have, let's say, as an example, right? Let's think there are multiple operating systems, right? There is Mac, there's Linux, there's Windows, there is, whatever else that you happen to be using, right? The specific ways that you are using, right? The specific tools you're using to access those can differ, right? So like you are accessing Mac OS using a MacBook, right? Or you are accessing Windows using a Dell PC or an HP. You are accessing Linux using an Ubuntu distribution or whatever else, right? Or for a similar example, I think of it as like the phone app and accessing it, right, on a specific type of device, right? So Git is the actual tool for managing all of your projects. It's the resource in here. GitHub is one of the main websites that is used to manage all of those Git distributions. You don't have to use GitHub to use Git, but you don't even have to use anything like GitHub to use Git, right? All that you need to do is Git is a way of, right, like a method installed on your computer to manage all of these projects. GitHub is just one website that's connected to distributing those, right? Like a Google Docs, for example. But instead of a Google Docs, you could use a Notion, right? And so Notion is the version of like GitLabs or Bitbucket or any other like locally hosted version, right? Different companies will have their own enterprise editions, whether of GitHub or of other resources. So hopefully that kind of answers your question. Git can also store your project, but the difference is whether it's going to store it locally, right? So Git, all that it'll do is like it'll keep a list of all of the versions that you've had of your project if you give it the option to do that. And then it will actually upload those versions. Whereas GitHub, right, is kind of like the Google Docs equivalent, right? Or like you get to then upload it to a cloud and go through it from there. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Thank you for this comment as well, right? I think it does a great explanation of going into it in a little bit less detail. Let me get a swig of water and then we'll continue from here. Alrighty, cool. So as we get started with our lovely GitHub, great question. How can I get a GitHub student pack? So if you go ahead and just Google the GitHub student developer pack, right? You can go ahead and see here. It'll take you to education.github.com/pack. This is the link that you need. This is another cool thing that if you have not yet gotten the chance to do so, I strongly recommend it. Right? So the GitHub Student Developer Pack allows for you to receive pro tools specific to your GitHub account. If we were to open a new tab, right, and log in, not into my Kari MLH account, but log instead to my, no, I don't want to sign up. I want to account. Aha, perfect. And I'm going to go ahead and log in here. Beans. All right. Classic. Hold on. Let me turn my screen off real quick. I am not a student and I'm coming from a different field, not IT. Okay. Hold on. I'll get to you in a second. Let me authenticate it real quick. I can show you. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and swap my screen really quickly to show you in here in my window. Right, there we go. Cool. You should be able to see here right now if we scroll down into my main one, right, in highlights, you can see my little pro star here, right? So we can kind of see the differences in here, and we'll swap back and forth in between, our like little test account and our main account here, so we can kind of see some of the things that I'm doing and some of the things that I've done in here. Can you tag MLH on your profile bios? If you feel like it adds on to what you're doing in a particular way, go right ahead. For the GitHub Student Developer Pack, right, the word student is kind of implied. However, there are ways to get access to GitHub Pro that are not the Student Developer Pack. First of all, if you are a teacher, right, there are teacher programs. For example, I teach K through 12, right? So you get a lot more other resources for like teacher discussions and so on, right? This can be both, right, in terms of like large scale universities, or this can be K through 12. So if you have your GitHub resources in this way, this is one that's a good one, right? Otherwise, you can also have things like, whole schools, right? Enrolling the campus, and then also partnering with GitHub Education. Like if you are, a whole resource, a partner, so something like MLH, for example, you can see like JetBrains, right? Gitkraken, Heroku, DigitalOcean all have partnerships, but this is a different type of kind of resource for partners that doesn't necessarily grant the same benefits. However, any person can go ahead and actually consider, joining the different tiers, right? If you go to your GitHub premiums, right, you can get enterprise or GitHub business. There's free trials, right? Kind of going through that. Also, there are possible ways to. My school isn't verified by GitHub, but I'm willing to get it if MLH can help. If your school is not verified by GitHub, chances are you need to just submit better, just submit different documentation. I had a similar problem with this back when I was a student. What was happening in that regard, right, is that my student ID, the actual ID card, didn't have my graduation date on it, which was a big requirement. So I would just try to get whatever document you can that has your full name and your graduation date on it that matches, and then an email that matches whatever else you have. As long as it's official, you should be good to go. You'll also have to do it from location if you are like a university student. So you have to, if you are at Vanderbilt, you have to do it from Vanderbilt campus. If you have any other questions about it, just let me know. If you're having issues, GitHub support is a better place to reach out than MLH specifically, because we don't have control over every single situation, every single edge case. I love the top stat on your account. How can I add that to my account? That is a great question. I would love to answer it. So if we go back to my personal account, this question has to do with this stat right here. So in here, this is our GitHub streak, right? So if we go to this lovely Lovely link. And it's been a while since I've done this, so this might actually be a really good revisit. Pretty sure this is it. Perfect. Yep. So this is the GitHub streak stats, right? So this is where they have a nice little demo lab, right? So this is where you can edit your little streak stat. And then also, right, you have different language options, right, for translations, data for the date formats, deployments, and contributions, and everything else like that, right? What we could also do, in the spirit of GHW open source, is see if there's anything else that we could potentially kind of recreate. They're recommending translations. Can I share my GitHub profile? Sure, certainly. And my GitHub profile, the benefit of what it's worth is it could still definitely use some cleanup. There's definitely some things in here that are outdated that I definitely want to go through and kind of on stream fix up. My goal is to kind of get started with a blank account today and then spend some time tomorrow walking through. And in here, okay, this is the translations menu for GitHub README streak stats. Cool to add in some translations. Let's see here. What do we got? Spanish I speak, but not well enough. Is Polish not on here? I'm very surprised. No, that's what I was about to say. Polish is definitely not here. AP is paste the link for that top stats. I don't know if it did. Might have missed it. But yeah, let me go ahead and do that real quick. So you can find their specific GitHub repository in here, right? It's called the GitHub README streak stats. It's a great repo. It's been around for many years at this point. At least I've had that exact version of my GitHub for at least a year or two. But yeah, it's a great repository for those of you who are interested. And then also, if you take a look at like this person's GitHub, for example, right, you can kind of see some of the things that they're doing in here, right, with their little tabs. And then their top open source projects, right? They've gone through and created a really cool sort of stats and activities, right? And their little, contribution graph and things like that, right? Walking through some things that they've been doing, etc. And their favorite tools, right? So very fun stuff. Yeah, this is a different person's, right? Like, so this is a person who is dedicated to, dev pro tips, and so on and so forth, right? But it is a very cool, very organized repository, and you can see a lot of the things. First of all, like their historical contributions, right? And some of the things that they worked on in previous years, right? You can kind of see the sheer increase in the amount of things they were doing. This almost looks automated. It's funny enough. They had one contribution pretty much every day, right? But then you can kind of see how they get into their own groove and start working on things more consistently. But it's still it's a really cool resource here. So shout out to this lovely person for making cool repos and letting us see stuff. But anyway, going back to what we were talking about here, I need to find their README streak stats, right? But also you have, they've done things like if you have YouTube videos, right? You can make YouTube cards that display in your GitHub profile, right? So stuff like this is really cool. So you can see examples of this from here. Right, so that walks you through how to do that automatically, right? The actual specifics of what they're doing, which is really cool. And then there's looks like translations also happening here. So what might be a cool thing for us to contribute in terms of translation too is see if we can find Add translations. So many translations. Very cool. Ooh, I could add a Polish translation. I'm gonna pin this. Hold on. I might go back here and add a Polish translation as a GitHub fun thing for me to do later. Not me getting sidetracked. How important is the portfolio website? I'll be very honest with you. Let's go to my portfolio website. My portfolio website is updated, right? With the current things that I have, right? It just doesn't make much sense for me to keep up like a super updated portfolio website, right? Like it's quite old. Like my resume link is broken, right? There are things on here that are not super important, right? Like it links to like my email to and things like that, make it help me with LinkedIn, so on and so forth. Is it a cool website? It is. And I like it quite a lot, but you know, it's updated and I have not had much traffic driven to it. Obviously it's linked to my like github.io like link, right? So it's very clear that it's my website, so on and so forth. I would say for anything related to the portfolio website land, right? Like use your best judgment. If you want to make one, go for it. If it's not something that strikes your fancy and you don't feel like it's going to be super helpful, then you don't have to, right? Going back through here, I graduated, so I no longer have my school email. How did I get a GitHub student dev pack? I'm putting a student plan for the challenges. So this is where the kind of difficult part comes in, right? Because the name student in there is implied, right? So getting a GitHub student developer pack is hard if you're not a student, right? There are other ways to get access to some of the GitHub features, right? Which is, I think, generally helpful. However, keeping that in mind, right? You might not necessarily be able to get everything. Same thing with the Figma student plan. Anything more specific to that would be a specific question in the MLH Discord. I don't have the power to answer it right now. And I don't know the inner details of it, but hopefully that can help you at least a little bit. All right. I need a super quick water break. I drank all of my water in my water bottle. So I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break to get some water. I'll put this up on my screen real quick. It'll be right about a minute or two. And then, you know, get some water, use the bathroom, stretch my legs. There's a bunch of other resources, like a list of quick profiles for us to reference aside from this. Oh, we're going to go looking for them. Stay tuned. We'll do it right after. But I'm going to go ahead and take a super quick water break. I'll be back in just about a minute or two. And I will see you all then. Alrighty. Hello, everybody. And based on an earlier request from the chat, that was like, I can't seem to get the daily challenges that we're required to do. Can someone finally guide them? Minimum how many challenges we have to complete to get swag? I think the number of challenges depends on how many people are also contributing. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. I think as long as you are participating consistently, you should be good. And then to link where those challenges actually are right in here. So Priya, that's your link right there for those open source challenges. And then Deepak Shrima, to answer your other question, there are a couple of really cool resources in here. This is for like highlighting developer portfolios here, right? So you can take a look at specific students and like take a look at their repos resources. And this is for like specific, websites, if you will. This is the awesome GitHub profile, the actual web page, right? That shows you some of the like GitHub stats that people are doing things with, right? With graphs, open source work stats, right? Their specific GitHub stats, so on and so forth, right? Maybe their music, right? Links like this one is, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, unfortunately, some of them are a little bit out of date, right? Because they, captured these a few years ago, right? Looks like this version is captured 4 to 5 years ago, right? But you could have everything from like just images, right, to retro icons, right? Fancy fonts, badges, images, minimalist, so on and so forth. So within here, you can find anything pretty much that your heart desires, right? Unfortunately, though, right, sometimes if you try to find them, though, it will not actually link to them correctly. But what I did like down here, right, is this links to like a lot of the specific repos, right? So this is like the typing SVG, right, which is for specifically typing in messages into your repo, right? Walks you through how to do it. Excuse me. And links the resource. Can you share the link resource? Of course, absolutely. Where did I put it? There you go. So under tools is specifically where I would go. So feel free to take a couple minutes to dig through this. And then what I think I want to do on stream is explore a couple of these, my personal favorites. And then we'll try to make one with our GitHub repo on here. And get comfy. Yeah. Let's see. Of course. Oh, GitHub Profile README generator. I'd love to see this. Let's try it. Cool. This is cool. I'm excited to see this. Nice. Okay, so it generally generates like a markdown. Nice. Sick. This is a really cool resource. I'm a big fan of this. Awesome. Well, tell you what, chat, I'd love to see people get started on their little GitHubs. I'm gonna get rid of my little quick water break banner too, because we don't need it anymore. We no longer, in fact, having a quick water break. I brought my water back. But I say I'm probably going to go ahead. Is there any deadline for the challenges? Yes, the end of Global Hack Week, like of Global Hack Week Open Doors, which is this Thursday. I forgot the time. What is this Thursday? I say we'll probably go ahead and spruce up my regular GitHub profile in here instead. So let's work through. Yeah, this tab is cool. Mm-hmm. Of course. Let's go ahead and share this. And then let's see what happens. There you go. Sick. So there's my GitHub stats, of course. Right now, individual stats. Showing additional individual stats. Showing icons. Preview of all available themes. I think I like GitHub _dark. Back to my GitHub here, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and here, right? And then it will be GitHub _dark. And then show icons as true, commit changes. Yeah, there you go. Beautiful. Nice. All right, so this is the sort of stuff that we can do to spruce up our lovely little GitHub profile. I really like this one. I'm going to drop a link directly to this GitHub README stats. Yeah, change the readme.md file, right? We've also talked a little bit about updating your status, right? So We'll do live on Twitch. Let's do clear status in an hour. All right, which is cool. And then you can also edit your profile here, right? So this is my bio. I can display my pro badge, right? And then, of course, Nashville, right? My current local time zone. I can change that. Not Saskatchewan, Central Time. Right, allows you to link to your social media, so if that's what you want. It also showcases some of your achievements, right? So merge without a review, right? Or close repo within 5 minutes of opening, right? Code authored commission merge pull requests, open pull requests that have been merged, right? So on and so forth. So generally, the main ways of enhancing your GitHub profile, right, is to stay active, right, doing things. But also making sure that you're changing up your README and making it look cool for better visibility, for showing off some of your, cool resources, so on and so forth. Yeah, there's my little lovely GitHub profile. I got a B+, which I'll take, considering I very rarely, if ever, touch my GitHub at this point. It's been a hot second. Kind of tell by my contribution graph. 2023 was a good year. Makes sense. This was when I was in college and I kind of peak. How do you get the achievements on GitHub? For completing specific like tools and resources and anything else. I am not the person to ask questions about fellowship. I'll just say that outright right now. I don't know. If you go to the MLH Fellowship website, they'll have more details. Let's take a look here. All right. So we updated our GitHub stat card. Right, this showcases some of our lovely little stats. You can also do your stat card in different things. You can also do a README card. Languages card is fun. Do you have a recommendation for a tool or workflow that after users provide something for long, it can automatically choose the most suitable GitHub profile README for a user? I mean, I would take the time to figure out what you want your repo to look like, right? Because I can't think of a tool that will just figure out the one that you want for you. Granted, there was a repo that we took a look at earlier today, and I can pop the link back up for it, that like auto-generated a repository for you. Right? So like depending on how intense you want to be with the whole process, that will really allow for you to do what you want there. So nice. Okay. I can see my most used languages, which tracks with what I've kind of done in here. am in the top half. I'll take it. Yeah, this was the profile README generator that I was talking about earlier, to answer that earlier question from you. I did want to actually translate and add a Polish translation in here, I think. All right, I guess we're gonna make a little open source contribution, because why not? So go ahead and really quickly, so for the repository, cool. So let's go ahead and do this. We're taking a little side quest. We're gonna make an open source contribution for those of us who are joining in. Let's do this for me. I'm gonna translate some stuff in Polish, because why not? All right, cool. So I'm in this GitHub README YouTube card, so I should fork it. Done. Yep, creating a fork. Amazing. Sweet. And then I want to create a new branch. I'm going to call it PL. Right, because PL is Polish. Cool. And then copy the contents to API locale en. Nice. To your own. So I'm going to do this on my PL tab. So API locale. Add a file. PL.yml, right? Yeah. And then I'm going to try to look up Polish YouTube to figure out exactly what word they use. Nice. Perfect. And then perfect. All right. So I added the Polish localization for view counts. Sweet. And then in here, optional, run the project and add endline identifier to card URL to make sure that it displays correctly. Command and push your changes to a fork. Open a pull request. Oh, I could have just done that. Oh, that would have been much easier, wouldn't have it? Cool. So add file, create new file. Mhm. All right, let's make a pull request real quick. So we added Polish translations and type of change, new feature. Cool. And then it references number 48. Beautiful, right? Go ahead and preview this, right? Amazing. Pull request. Amazing. You're gonna see if this works. So we just made a little pull request. That's fine. Yeah, just authorizations required to deploy, which is fine. And then there you go. Cool. That was a fun little side tangent. What you can do though now is hi on query. What I would like to do is the wanted to look at the the change here. See if it actually does the thing. Okay, sick. Nice. I guess I'm tired. And then let's see here. Is there anything else that we feel like we need to talk about? I do like this one a lot. We'll update this one, I think. Why not? Think about what else I want to do. Oh goodness. Let me see here. All right, let's pick out a Google font name here. This is so cool. What's the default GitHub font? Let's look. All right, we're gonna go ahead and add in a nice little typing SVG instead of the header here. I want to see how that works. I might not want to center it, actually, on second thought. Nice. Okay, I like that. Except I want to make sure that the blues all match. So we will definitely be fixing that. I'll go ahead and do that really quickly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the screen picker here. I would love to see any of us that are in chat right now and who have been working on their GitHubs pretty diligently. If you have changes that you want to share, I'd love to highlight them on stream if you're comfortable. Of course, right? Just do let me know. But I think it'd be awesome if we manage to do it. There we go. Messing around with this GitHub repo has been so much fun. Hold on, see. I'm a little uncomfortable, so I gotta get up and swap seat. Yeah. Alright, there we go. That should be a little better. Ooh, yay! Thank you for sharing GitHubs. Or there's anybody in the chat that wants to share GitHubs. Alright, cool. Might need to make this a little smaller. Set it and height 35 into the bottom of both of these. There we go. Oh, I'm kind of obsessed with that. Mm-hmm. All right, cool. Really working on my account. Thank you. Awesome. I'm so glad. I want to show off mine at the end, which is what I've kind of been super focused on mine. Oh, that's humongous. See how this works. Yeah, it didn't. That's what I figured. Nice. Okay. We're adding some technologies that I've got to mess around with. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Look at this. I do the same thing. Well, I do actually want to finish this. These are cool. Anyway, I don't think I'm a fan of this. So. I think what we're gonna do on next stream is just kind of get a chance to like sorry, I'm losing it a little bit, but I think what we're gonna do on next stream is talk about like cleaning up your GitHub profile. So we'll talk about pins, we'll talk about GitHub contributions, we'll talk about like repositories, I'll talk about organizations, stars, so on and so forth, packages, projects, etc. Let's maybe start on some of my own repo cleanup here, since we've got things I want to do. I'll go ahead and change the repository view of this repository. Private. Cool, that was easy. Let's go back to the repos here. Go on the next page. And the next page again. So that one. This one, I feel like I can delete it. Deleting super old repositories here. So I don't really need them. Let's look up. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, look up 9JADVO. Or not in my profile. I want to search you. 9JADVO. I'll search for the user. Oh, nice. Awesome. That does look great. GitHub achievements connect with me. Yeah, this looks awesome. Nice. Do love a contribution graph. Okay, so it is shields. And then a random quote. That's fun. These are really cool. Nice. I do want to try this one out. GitHub Trophy Crystal app. I haven't heard of this one before. Nice. Mm-hmm. Nice. We'll do stats. We'll do trophies. Then we've got, of course, my professional part of my work experience. I do want to clean up this part a little bit. I'm going to have to mess around with that in a little bit. But we are almost at time, and I do want to make sure that we do get to the next stream in time. So there's a few things that I want to do. First of all, I'm going to open the floor up to any questions that you want to ask before we head out for Global Hack Week. I'll be back tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern time for part 2 of this stream. We're going to focus a little bit more on like individual project repos, on like specific features that you might need to look at and things like that. In addition to that, for those of you who are looking to generally find out more about what's going on with GHW, you're going to go ahead and go to the GHW schedule right here, which is right below me on this side. There we go. That GHW. Sorry, I just got my nails done yesterday, and I'm very impressed with how good they look. Aren't they stunning? My hands look so good. Anyway, ghw.mla.ilo/schedule is going to be where you'll find all those resources and any help that you might need on there. The other thing that I want to point out is that, like I mentioned, I'll be back tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Let me really quickly look up the time zone conversion for IST and for UK time if we have it. We do. Perfect. So for anyone who is curious, I'll be back at what looks like 8 a.m. Eastern, 8 to 10 Eastern time, which is noon Greenwich. And we removed the IST conversion. No. Let me just convert it. AST to IST. So since I'm going on at 8 a.m., that'll be perfect for those of you who are looking to join me. It's going to be right from 8 to 10. So 5:30, 7:30 India Standard Time, or 1 to 3 Greenwich Mean, or like London, UK time, 1 to 3, and noon Greenwich Mean, because something. Times of conversions. Those are cat nails ready to scratch the repos. They are long, but I'm so happy about how they came out. I've had way longer before, but I'm so excited. I have a big thing, like a big celebration thing on Wednesday, and so I really wanted to get something nice done, and so I went and treated myself, and it was very cool. Anyway, the other thing that I want to point out before we head out is make sure that you go ahead and leave feedback at mlh.link/GHW feedback. It's now right below my head. So this is going to be the best way to say, hey, I liked this stream because XYZ, or hey, I wish we did XYZ in this stream as well. It would have been awesome to see you do this. It would have been awesome for you to do this. I, as teacher, thank you. This one, yeah, there you go. My little nose ring. But generally, if you've got any feedback for me that is like, hey, I wish you had, shared all of the links that you posted in like a Notion doc for all of us to see, which I've done in the past, but I didn't for some reason do it for this stream. Or like, hey, I wish that you came to us with like a bad GitHub repo example or whatever else. Or, hey, I loved this whole thing. This was absolutely amazing. Like, please come and, give me some love or give me some constructive criticism. Either is well appreciated. And you're going to do that right at this link up here. If you are looking for the next thing to do, I'm going to go ahead and really quickly share my screen for what we've got coming up. We have one of my favorite coaches joining us, Jocelyn, who I've gotten to hang out with extensively. We trained at an event together. Well, I trained her, so it was really fun. If you want to hang out with Jocelyn, we're doing Getting Started with ROS for Open Source Projects Part 1. So she's got a really awesome series of streams coming up. She's an absolutely amazing coach, and she always has super cool kind of getting started feedback and resources and things for all of us here at the MLH Streamland. So make sure you tune in and see that. Tell her I sent you, tell her hello. I'm going to give you these 7 minutes to get that done. I'm not really seeing any questions in the chat. Oh, you guys kind of see my little plushie in the background. Anyway, thanks y'all very much for coming. I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me today. Give me some feedback if you've got some spare time between now and Jocelyn's stream, and then make sure you do go to Jocelyn's stream. It's running in 6 minutes right here on wherever you're watching. They'll both be on MLH and or YouTube. So make sure you come and see us, and we will see you in the next Global Hack. I will see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. So bye, team.